Hey, 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 today is International Cat Day. Yes, International Cat Day. It's not celebrating cats just here in the United States, but all around the world. And I have to admit, the two kitties that I live with are down here in the Duct Tape Studios with me. That's right. Pinky as well as Smokey are both floating around, and we might hear from Pinky and we may see Smokey. You never know. It's a live show. And speaking of live shows, it's true. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer. I'm back once again as your host here at the Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. So today is Wednesday, August 8th. Wednesdays usually means war games. I like to do my War Game Wednesdays. But I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Now, it is historically related, but I would not consider Black Orchestra a war game per se. That's right, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at Black Orchestra from Starling Games. I had the opportunity to do an interview, to kind of talk to Brenna from Starling Games at Gen Con. They've got a lot of cool stuff. I've got a trio of games from Starling that I am going to be showing off and reviewing. And I thought, you know what? Even though it's not the newest one, it is a pretty good fit for War Game Wednesday, because in Black Orchestra, the players are cooperating together to try to assassinate Adolph Hitler. Well, well, well. So before I jump into the news, I do want to point out this is a live show. If this is the first time you're swinging by to watch, feel free, kick back, relax. This is very casual. I pretty much just ramble on about games and sometimes little bits of geek culture. Because it is live, there is chat. Chat's available through YouTube. It is not on screen, so that is one of the ways that I kind of keep some of the stranger commenters at bay. But if you have a question or a comment, just want to say hello, or when I'm taking a look at Black Orchestra, if you'd like to get a closer look at something, feel free, chime in, and I will respond. So, got quite a bit of news today, a little bit more than yesterday. And interestingly enough, earlier today, I actually put my interview with Martin Erickson, as well as Jason Carl from White Wolf, up online. It's our discussion of Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition from Gen Con, and there happens to be a news piece from White Wolf about a new board game that's on the horizon, which is set in the world of V5. And I've got the dope. White Wolf Entertainment, in cooperation with board game publisher Nice Game Publishing GmbH, has unveiled a new chapter in the Vampire the Masquerade storytelling universe, Vampire the Masquerade Heritage, a new legacy format game of vampire clan politics and historical manipulation. In Heritage, designed by Babis Giannios, a longtime vampire storyteller, players take on the role of an ancient vampire shaping over 700 years of kindred and human history through political machinations, subversion, and secrecy. With first demo sessions being available at Spiel 18 and set for full release at Spiel 19 in Essen, Germany, Vampire the Masquerade Heritage will challenge players to make decisions that shape history while expanding the influence of their vampire clans. Vampire the Masquerade Heritage is a 2 to 4 player legacy-style board game that takes 20 to 40 minutes to play. During the game, players build a bloodline from characters who complete history-based missions and challenges via vampiric battlegrounds. Gameplay includes the use of intrigue cards, which change the rules of the game in thematic ways to fit characters and clans. Vampire clans grow in strength as they build a chronicle spanning 700 years of blood-soaked history. Humans can also be embraced and turned into fellow vampires with new abilities and a new name. These newly embraced vampires are represented in-game by flipping their human card to the vampire side and returning them to their sleeve. To allow for this innovative gameplay, Vampire the Masquerade Heritage will come with more than 60 pre-slaved character cards. To reach the conclusion of the 700-year timeline, players will scramble to unravel ancient mysteries and make the most of their allies and influence gathered throughout the campaign. Vampire the Masquerade Heritage will arrive in October of 2019. That is the approximation that I understand. So, of course, there is no information about MSRP just yet. I have to point out that they are sharing some pretty cool looking character artwork. So, definitely digging that. Now, during the interview with Martin and Jason at Gen Con, there was some mention about this board game. So, I'm not sure how far along in the process they are. As far as they're talking about demos at Essen. So I would think we're probably looking at, I'm guessing this might go to Kickstarter because I don't think there's the built-in audience like Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition already has. So I'm guessing this might be a crowdfunding project that would probably hit sometime next spring. Not sure, but it does have my interest peaked. That's for sure. All right, in other news, CMON Limited is reprinting the Reiner Knizia classic Blue Moon City. Blue Moon, you left me. Yeah, okay. Anyway, here's the dope. Return Blue Moon City to its former glory. Blue Moon City, once the capital of the land, has been reduced to rubble. The long war of secession is over, and the various people left in the city are looking to rebuild. They're working hard to return the city to its former glory. But only one group will lead the reconstruction and thus have the right to rule in this new age of peace. In Blue Moon City, players are looking to restore the buildings of the ancient capital. Collecting together work groups from among the populace, they add their contributions to the reconstruction efforts. When a building is repaired, it gives bonuses to any player that helped, but a bigger bonus to the one that contributed the most. Those rewards can come in the form of crystals, which are offered up to the central obelisk. Once a player has made the required offering, they will ascend to Leader of Blue Moon City. The game features a modular city. The city tiles are shuffled and dealt out at the start of the game, creating a new board every time. Includes 7 miniatures. Each player is represented in the city by their own unique miniature. Also roaming the city are the 3 dragons that inhabit its streets, each with its own figure as well. There's also beautiful artwork. The city tiles and cards feature beautiful artwork by Nicholas Fructus, bringing the city and its inhabitants to life. Blue Moon City is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 up. Mainly, I'm guessing, probably because of the smaller game pieces. It doesn't strike me as a game that is probably that crunchy rules-wise. And plays in about 30 to 50 minutes. The game will arrive October 26th and will carry an MSRP of $39.99. Gotta say that Blue Moon City is actually back from the period when Reiner Knizia was actually designing kind of new games. Everything wasn't just a rehash of previous titles he had designed, just with reskins or rethemes. So this could be pretty interesting. And I find it funny how CMON's kind of branching out into games that aren't just minis games. They are looking at more traditional board games, so kind of cool. So that is something you can look out for in October. There is also a game on the horizon from Gray Fox Games. Yep, that's right, it's called Pocket Mars, and I've got the dope. In the world of big games about Mars, everyone should have one that fits in their pocket. Pocket Mars is a fast-paced and wildly dynamic card game, but don't let the short playthrough time fool you. It's a heavyweight filler. Hate that term. I hate filler. Just move right along. They put filler in like ground beef at the crappy fast food places. Wish I'd see companies stop using that term. Anyway, a compressed and easy to understand set of rules combined with cards that you can play in more than one way is what makes this game great. 15 minutes is all it takes for you and your friends to set out on an exciting adventure in space. In space! Your goal is to place as many colonists as you can in the buildings of your Mars settlement. To do so, you'll need to choose carefully how and when to play your cards. Make sure to play those cards right. The way you trigger actions on your cards is the heart of the game. Everything depends on where you play them from, which is the game's main strategic element. You could play a pocket card straight from your hand and trigger its effect instantly, or turn it into a module and play it from your preparation zone. Hopefully it's not the preparation H zone. This will let you add it to one of the 5 buildings in your settlement, trigger an action sequence, and transport your colonists to Mars. The Gray Fox Games edition of Pocket Mars comes with upgraded components and an updated rulebook. Pocket Mars is for 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 15 to 30 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $14.99 when it arrives next month on September 20th. Interesting. Always like to have smaller footprint games that you can just toss in a briefcase or toss in the glove compartment of your car, or throw it in your purse, what have you, and bring it along. And this does look like this could be a pretty intriguing design. Now, this is an English edition of a game that has been out. Pocket Mars has been out. I just don't believe it's been available in English previously. So this is something to keep an eye out for next month. As I like to joke around, today ends in a Y. So Renegade Game Studios has something new cooking. But granted, this is a game that was announced a while back, but it is on the horizon. In fact, it was a Gen Con release, so you could have picked it up there. But as I mentioned, they've always got something cooking, and my interview is actually on the horizon. Should be up pretty shortly. And family gamers will want to take note of the return of Arboretum. Here's the dope from Renegade. Arboretum is a strategic card game designed by Dan Kissar and illustrated by Beth Sobel that challenges players to create the most beautiful path through the garden. Choosing the correct cards and placing them in the most efficient orientation will score you the most points at the end of the game. With elegantly simple rules, Arboretum offers players surprisingly complex choices. There's a standard edition, and then there's also a limited edition deluxe version, which offers fans a chance to enjoy the elegance of the game with an engraved and heat-treated wooden box, premium rainbow foil cards, an embroidered fabric bag, and a beautiful full-color sleeve for the box. Nowhere is nature's beauty quite so evident as in the resplendent colors of an arboretum. In Arboretum, you create carefully planned paths for your visitors to walk as they take in the colorful explosion of buds and leaves. The cheerful cherry blossom, the fragrant dogwood, the mighty oak, all have a place in this peaceful haven. But the tranquil setting belies the game's competitive heart. You must choose which cards to plant in your Arboretum and which to keep in hand, as only the most expert curator will win the renown of nature enthusiasts everywhere. Hooray! It most certainly would not end up being me. Arboretum is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, and plays in about 30 minutes. The standard edition of the game will be available next month, and it's going to carry an MSRP of $20, while the limited edition will arrive in November, carrying an MSRP of $35. I did have a chance to take a quick peek at Arboretum. It is, I mean, I'll be honest, probably not a game that's up my alley, but it did look interesting. I like the artwork on the cards, but you know, I have to admit, I didn't think I was gonna like Dance of the Fireflies from Backspinel Games, where you're planting the different flowers in your garden, and I thought that was great. So I can't say, you know, Arboretum's not, you know, gonna be up my alley. I haven't played it, but it is a very pretty game. So I have to point that out. So folks out there who enjoy playing games with their family or maybe couples, this looks like, I'm not going to say it's a relaxing game because it's supposed to be pretty challenging and competitive, but it is a very pretty game. All right, moving right along. There's plenty of interest about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay right now. In fact, my recording of Graham Davis's talk about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the various editions, as well as his involvement in the Enemy Within campaign, is up. It's getting a lot of people watching it, which is pretty cool. And my interviews with Dominic as well as Graham at the Cubicle 7 booth should be up soon. But I do want to point out that there is another adventure from first edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay that's available from, Cubicle 7 Entertainment. And it is available in PDF, and it's Marienburg, Sold Down the River. Here's the dope. Where seagulls dare. At the seamouth of the River Reek stands Marienburg, the world's marketplace. The largest, richest, most corrupt, and most dangerous city port in the old world. Here, everything is for sale, and nothing is without a price. In the markets and docks, traders win and lose fortunes of exotic cargoes from every land. Meanwhile, in slum taverns, or besides filthy canals, more sinister deals are done for smuggled weapons, stolen booty, secrets, loyalties, bodies, or worse. And with the Empire and Bretonnia both eyeing Marienburg's wealth and location, the city is on a knife edge, filled with racial tension, espionage, and fear. Built on 100 islands, Marienburg is home to the richest man alive, Warren Buffett. No, I'm kidding. It's not Warren Buffett. And the only enclave of sea elves in the old world. Actually, what am I thinking? It's, isn't it Jeff Bezos? I think it's Bezos, who's supposed to be the richest man in the world now. He doesn't live in Marienburg, though. The only enclave of sea elves in the old world, and more gold than adventurers can dream of. Here on the edge of the Sea of Claws are so many chances for adventure, excitement, and messing about in boats that even a corrupt local dockmaster couldn't count them all. Marienburg, Sold Down the River, is a complete and incredibly detailed city sourcebook for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, containing everything a GM needs to run adventures and campaigns in this unique city. It includes descriptions, maps, and histories of Marienburg and the surrounding wasteland, information on Marienburg's politics, religion and laws, and criminals, as well as details of 8 of the city's most important districts, over 40 individual locations, and almost 60 fully detailed non-player characters, all with connections and secrets that can be used to create plots and adventures. All the elements are woven together to create one of the most complete, coherent, and fascinating city sourcebooks ever released for any RPG. Plus, there's a complete scenario and 15 adventure seeds, rules with trading and smuggling information on how to generate Wastelander PCs. There's atmospheric artwork that brings Marienburg and its inhabitants to life, and an incredible panoramic poster map of the entire city and more. This PDF combines material originally published by Hogshead Publishing, including the poster map of Marienburg. We've painstakingly scanned every page and created a PDF that maintains the appearance of the original. This does make for a slightly larger file than we'd normally produce, but on this occasion, we think it's worth it for all the great first edition feel. The PDF is also bookmarked for ease of reference. The 152-page Marion Berg, Sold Down the River, is available right now at Drive-Thru RPG for $9.99. Very cool! Plus, as I always mention, when I'm talking about Drive-Thru RPG, since we are an affiliate, anytime you are going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG, please do me a favor. Swing by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our drive-thru banners, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, we get a small piece of that. Very, very tiny taste of that pie. But I swear, it really adds up. It really, really does help. And I say it time and time again, we do not have inexpensive hosting for the Gaming Gang. And many times, the small little portions of the purchases from people going through our banners pays for the hosting for the website. So that really helps. It really helps keep the website around. All right, so that is it for today's news. Before I get into Black Orchestra, which I will in just a couple of moments, I had a few people email me asking what I thought of the Gen Con drama that took place. What did I know about it? And interestingly enough, there's always some sort of drama at any convention. I mean, there's always something going on that's negative impact on our hobby. And usually, I mean, I'll find this stuff out during the show after the fact. I mean, I'm usually too busy to really spend much time online looking at, what's going on or hearing the buzz and things like that. But there were two incidents at Gen Con this year that I honestly, I really can't comment on because it's not like I was there. I've only heard things through the grapevine. I have heard from some sources that I find to be very reliable. But so Matt Fantastic punched out some, actually, I guess it wasn't punched out. I guess he beat the snot out of, I can't remember the guy's name. He's kind of a right-wing blogger. He's a troll. He's been banned from Magic tournaments. It's very sexist. He's just trying to, excuse my French here, but seems to always be trying to stir a shitstorm up. And from my understanding, before Gen Con, he was actually online pointing out that he was looking to stir the storm up and get into some fights. And I guess Matt Fantastic kicked the shit out of him. So what you do to neo-Nazis, right? That's how on my Facebook page, I actually have an image of Captain America from the first issue of Captain America back in the early 40s punching out Hitler. So in my opinion, you punch out Nazis. That's how it works. So I know a lot of people are like, they're on various different sides. I don't know. Personally, I never feel that violence is the answer. But sometimes violence becomes your only other option. So other than just roll over and take it, or you fight back. So don't know all the details for that, but I gotta say, like I said, I can't remember the right-winger's name, and I have heard things about him over the years. I'm not a follower. I don't know anything about him really, outside of how it's very sexist. He's always trying to. He's just a guy who likes to stir up trouble. And obviously he can't fight. So that's usually, bullies are usually like that too. Bullies can't take a punch. So that was one thing. Now the other thing is the president of Gamma and COO of Yellow Games was thrown out of the show early Thursday. And basically, from my understanding, Stefan was already kind of a powder keg because a shipment for Yellow hadn't arrived, and I don't believe they were set up yet, and they were actually having to hand carry items into the convention hall because once things get set up, you can't have equipment coming back and forth, bringing, your pallets of stuff in because everyone else is already set up. And it's not unusual for companies to get set up late. So there was an issue with a security person, and from what I understand now, I know Stefan has made a public statement apologizing, saying he was fully in the wrong. My understanding is that a person in security, he knocked them to the ground, and the person he knocked to the ground was an older woman. So, because if you don't go to conventions, when you hear like security, you think to yourself, oh yeah, like bouncers and stuff like that. That's the furthest thing from the case. Usually at a gaming convention, comic book conventions, you find a lot of older people, retiree age, who are just doing that for like, some part-time money on the side. You find some younger people, a lot of women. So it's not as if, you're at the local, biker bar with their doorman who's a big, beefy guy. So my understanding was that Stefan had knocked this woman to the ground, and then he was his badge was confiscated, destroyed, and he was tossed. So that's a situation where Stefan has already apologized. He said he's completely in the wrong. I'm sure nerves were frazzled at the time because he wasn't set up yet. Convention hall is going to open up in a short period of time. So those things happen. Problem is, he's the president of Gamma. He's the COO of Yellow Games. Should really know better. So that's how I look at that. No one was hurt or anything, but yeah, gotta say, Stefan really should have known better. That does not reflect very well on either himself or really Gamma, or mostly Yellow Games. So there is talk that Yellow Games may not be back to Gen Con. So I don't know. Depends on what they decide to do about it. One other last item, talking about these kind of things, because I know a lot of times people are like, oh, well, for an example, the fight with Matt Fantastic. People are like, oh, Gen Con should be in charge of those kind of things. They should be able to oversee these things. Not off-site. I mean, really, how are they supposed to handle something that's off-site? Something off-site like that, that's the Indianapolis Police Department, which even on-site, that would still be the Indianapolis Police Department. Something that takes place like what happened with the president of Gamma, that is something that is a Gen Con item. And just very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. And I honestly didn't hear about this stuff until Sunday morning because I was too busy. And, I keep my nose clean when I'm at the cons. I'm doing my thing, and then after, the exhibit hall closes, I go out, grab something to eat, enjoy a few adult beverages. Maybe I play some games. Maybe I talk to people in the industry. But I behave myself. I don't get mixed up in those kind of things. Anyway, so I just want to float that out because people are like, well, whose side are you on? And I'm like, well, got to be on Matt's side, and honestly, I got to be on Gen Con's side. I mean, that's really how it looks at it, but it's not as if I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a dog in this fight. So I am going to be taking a look at Black Orchestra from Starling Games. The game is for 1 to 5 players, so there is a solitaire element to it. It's ages 14 and up. Probably, hey, what the heck is going on here? Why is that popping up? Get on out of there, you silly thing. That's what happens when you run down here and set stuff up last minute. All right. My sinuses are starting to get a little weird. That's one of the reasons why I didn't have that slide set up correctly. And I'm like, oh, come on. Please do not be the con crud again. Because it's about that time from getting back. It's usually a few days. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom! But I'm doing all right. I'm feeling okay. Anyway, so Black Orchestra is for ages 14 and up. I'm taking a guess that's probably more due to the subject matter. Plays in about 90 minutes. Black Orchestra is designed by Philip DuBarry with artwork provided by Cody Jones, Dan May, and Lucas Soriano. I believe Lucas did most of the artwork. The game was originally released in 2016. I believe this is the second edition I'm taking a look at, so there may be some changes from the previous edition. It is available right now, and it does carry an MSRP of $60. So let's head on over to the other camera here and pop this puppy down. So, Black Orchestra, I like the art style, pretty cool art style. It's not, I don't want to say it's like cartoonish, but it is not like photorealistic, not specifically photorealistic. All right, so let me get the shrink off here. Probably make this a little easier to see. So this is showing that this is Game Salute. And Starling Games is an imprint of Game Salute. In fact, I should also mention I got a chance to talk with my good buddy Alan Emmerich at Gen Con. Yes, Victory Point Games was at Gen Con and Alan was at Gen Con. And Victory Point Games is now going to be an imprint of Game Salute as well. Well, it's not really, it's just below Game Salute. Can't remember the exact name of the kind of, I don't want to say holding company. It's not a holding company. Almost like an umbrella company. Okay, so the year is 1936. As Hitler's grip on Germany tightens and his total depravity is unmasked, some in the highest levels of the Reich begin to conspire to kill the tyrant. The plot begins. Black Orchestra is a tense and thrilling board game experience where you must evade the suspicious eyes of the Gestapo and secretly plot to assassinate the Fuhrer as World War II rages on. Didn't want to mention that this is not simply a game based on Operation Valkyrie, which a lot of people would know about that plot to kill Adolf Hitler because of the Tom Cruise movie. There were multiple attempts of varying, well, of course, none of them succeeded, but some came closer than others. Some were just in the planning stages. Some attempts were actually made, and Black Orchestra actually tackles the various, come on, let's go, let's get this box open, the various different plots. Okay, so I do believe the game board is a pretty good size, so we may not be able to fit this all in. But we've got the rules. And you know what? I am going to grab the old reading specs because I can see right now that the kind of setup card right here, the text is a little small. So the rules are not very long. This is not a very long rule book. So we've got 12 pages. So we're taking a look here. We've got the components showing off conspirator cards, event cards, Nazi leader tiles, interrogation cards. There are custom dice. There are conspirator sheets, different pawns, different tracking cubes, and then we killed Hitler. One victory card. So it's talking about the setup. So showing the setup here. Showing one of the conspirator sheets. Talking about key concepts of the game, winning and losing. There is only one way to win the game. Assassinate Hitler by succeeding at a plot attempt. That is the only way for you to win. If all players are in prison, you lose the game. If you can't draw an event card when you're required to, you lose the game. If the Stage 7 event documents located is drawn, you lose the game. Lots of ways to lose. Lots of ways, I should say, to lose. Only one way to win. We've got resolving effects, choosing between multiple options, motivation and suspicion, Hitler's military support, dossiers, items, dice, dossier and item limits. I wonder if as this game progresses, if your plots have better chances to succeed. Because early in the war, most of the German people, the vast majority of the German people, vast majority of the German military, all backed Hitler. But as the fortunes of war began to turn, that's when we saw plots that were much closer to succeeding taking place. So I wonder if that's built into this, or if every plot to assassinate the Fuhrer is pretty much the same opportunity to succeed, I should say. See, so it says the player wearing the most black begins as the active player. All right, so if Johnny Cash had been at the table, he would always go and be the first player. So we're checking for Hitler and deputies. So they're showing Hess, Goebbels, Bormann, Himmler, Goering. Hitler and deputy movements, taking actions. Drawing an event card. Key events. Talking about Gestapo raids, arrest and prison. So you actually have turns while you're arrested, while you're in prison. Interrogation cards. Plots. Building a dice pool, determining difficulty, success or failure. Talking about victory, as well as defeat. And various, some variants. Trusted lieutenants, sense of urgency, guarded documents. All right, so 12 pages, lots of images, not going to be too difficult to wrap your head around as far as I understand. So here we have kind of a, looks like a, almost like a player aid card. So talking about setup. So this is actually from the rule book here. It's kind of turn order and everything in it. So it's talking about taking your 3 actions, drawing an event card, talking about Berlin. So this is just a handy dandy little extra aid for you. So one player could, you know, kind of keep an eye on the rule book, and the other player could be using this aid to help the other players, because it is for 1 to 5 players. So here we see Hitler and his lieutenants. So as I mentioned before, you've got Hitler, Hess, Goebbels, Bormann, Himmler, and Goering. Looks like a difficulty. So this is probably a difficulty for the different plots to succeed. And we got explosives, weapons, a map, signature, keys, intel, badge, and poison on these tokens here. They are dual-sided. So I would take a stab that this is probably randomized somehow, that you don't necessarily know which of these items are available. So we've got the game board here. So we'll take a look at that last. So we've got the custom dice. Let's take a look at these. Ah, geez, come on. What's with this bag? Thought it was just going to be a little Ziploc bag, but it's not. It's a sealed bag. Taking a look, I believe these are all going to be kind of the same here. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, and 3 on the faces. We've got a target symbol, and then the German eagle. Yeah, you're not going to find swastikas on these. No. So it looks like we've got, what, 10 dice? And yes, they are all going to be the same. So numbered 1 through 3, 2 target symbols, and then the eagle. So we've got that. We've got some, looks like some tracking cubes and some pawns here. bag right there. We've got the conspirators. And single-sided, so I would think it's possible that you might actually randomly assign these conspirators to players. Of course, I'm sure you can choose to be who you want to be. So we do see the various characters here. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce their names. Well, General Beck. Well, okay, right. So we've got that. So it's showing if they're civilians, Wehrmacht, or the Abwehr. Another civilian here. Civilian here. And, of course, if you recall, this is the historical person that Tom Cruise played in Operation Valkyrie. So we see we've got reckless, committed, motivated, skeptical, timid. Got different items. Looks as if... Looks like these are kind of identical, except for, of course, the photograph, as well as the text about that historical person, but it doesn't look like there's really any difference between them. So we've got those. Put these back in, and then the dice. We've got different decks of cards. Let's get these open up, take a look. Yeah, let's see if we can actually get these open with the strips. Nope. I always find it much quicker to just use my hobby knife and slide on in there. This does look interesting. You have to admit, there aren't a ton of board games out there where the players are attempting to assassinate Hitler. And I don't mean by going back in time to try to assassinate Hitler. I'm talking about assassinating Hitler during the 30s and 40s. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got numbered cards. And I think these numbered cards are kind of like events, because they stack up on top of the board. So let's take a look here. Okay, so we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me cap this up before I end up wearing this hobby blade in my hand. So we're showing different historical investigations begin. All conspirators raise their motivation. From Kristallnacht, the Munich Agreement. Maybe these are just in time frames. Parade in Berlin. I bet you that's it. Party Rally. The Anschluss. I bet you that's it. Visit from Goebbels. Visit from Himmler. So I bet you this is... these are going to go by year, or by, you know, like early period on. Let's see what 5 has. Berghoff Retreats, Casablanca Conference, Eastern Push, Gestapo Raid. Yep. Heydrich Assassinated. Yep, I bet you that's what it is. I bet you it's because we even got some more here. So let's get this. These look like more of those cards. Whoop, I already had it slit. All right, Jeff, what are you thinking? You already cut that one open. So it looks like this number 5 deck is missing some cards. It doesn't seem there's as many cards as the other ones. So let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. Sure enough. Okay, so here's 5. 6. 7. So looking at 7 here, this should be where Berlin's about to fall. Germany's about to fall. Yep. Anzio Landing, Fall of Rome, Final Conscription. Yep. So that's exactly what these decks will do. They will actually kind of run historically from early years of the Reich through the fall of the Third Reich. Yeah, so got those decks here. We've got the Success. We Killed Hitler. So it's actually showing Game Salute and Fantasia games. But I could have swore this is a release from Starling Games, but I don't know. I have no idea. Like I said, with the various different companies that are now part of this umbrella, they're you know, like Victory Point Games. I was shocked to see Nemo's War was being demoed over in this area. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty wild. So there's the victory card. So we've got that, and then we've got, looks like Gestapo cards. Tell us what you know. Looks like these are all pretty much the same here. Do not reveal or discuss this card with other players. Oh no, there's differences. So we've got Contact Silence, Blacklist Individual. Here we've got Give Them Names, Reveal Plans, Try and Resist, Buy Them Off, Shake Down. So there are various different A, B, and C on these cards. So it looks like, oh, there's been a mistake. Ooh. Cleared of all charges. Yep, on all these cards, right? These are all Gestapo. They're, you know, rousting you in, things like that. Terrorizing you, interrogating you, all these other things. And one card says, oh, it's been a mistake. Sorry. So we've got those. Then, oh, look at this. We've still got another, we've got more of these cards? That's pretty wild. So we got more ones. Just a couple of them. Put these in here. And all of these cards. I think these might be plot cards. So we've got Devise Plots, Quick Reaction, Vital Information, Security Clearance, Cover Story. So then we've got High-Ranking Informants, Acts of Sedition, Military Secrets. This card in Zurich or Stockholm lower Hitler's military support by 1. Moment of Truth. I've got here Lone Gunman, required elements, optional elements. Suitcase Bomb. That's how they tried to take him out in Operation Valkyrie. Derail the Train. Plane Bomb, yep. Tried to blow up the plane he was on. Hidden Bomb. Coup d'etat. Poison Gas. Sniper. Kidnapping. Poison Parcel. Poison Food. And an Ambush. So we've got these cards here. So, like I said, I believe these are probably considered like plot cards or something along those lines. All right, and let's take a look at the game board. I'm going to move some of this out of the way for a second. So if I remember right, it's a pretty good-sized game board. Okay, there we go. That's not too bad. We're going to be able to get vast majority of it into the shot. So, I believe this is the area up here. This is where we had these kind of like era cards, the 1 through 7. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those cards will go up here. Then we've got different areas across the board here throughout Europe. So I believe this is where we track the movements not only of the agents, of the conspirators, but we also track the movements of Hitler and his cronies. So I'm not positive if you can assassinate, say, like Hermann Goering and things, you know, people like that, his lieutenants, but it is possible. So we show here, and it looks like each of these areas are going to have certain bonuses, maybe some penalties as well. So we've got a descent track up in here too. Then we've got pretty much a breakdown what you do on your turn. So check for Hitler and his deputies and deputy penalties. Talking about spending an action, military support for Hitler. The higher, I would say, the higher this is, probably the less likely it is for your plot to succeed. And we got attempting a plot. So everything really looks like it's laid out right here on the board for you. And this should not be a very difficult game to get into. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be an easy game to win, but this does not look like a very difficult game to wrap your head around and start playing. So definitely looking forward to checking this out. There is a solitaire element as well. So I do see it is for 1 to 5. I guarantee I will be getting this to the table with my brother Greg, with my nephew Cameron. So my nephew Cameron is a big World War II buff now, thanks to his Uncle Jeff here. So he really digs history now because his uncle talks about history all the time with him in that. So we've got the conspirator cards. We've got the custom dice. And these are cut dice. These are not dice with stickers on them or just painted on. They are cut. We've got the cubes and some pawns as well. We've got the rules. We've got the sort of player aid card. Whoops, as that slips out of my hand. And we've got the various different components, as well as Hitler and his deputies, as well as the hard, standard, and easy. And then we've got the various decks of cards and the game board. And that is what we find when we take everything from Black Orchestra outside the box. As I mentioned before, this game originally came out in 2016. I do believe this is the second edition. So pretty sure that this is the second edition. It is available now, and it does carry an MSRP of $60. So stay tuned. In a couple of weeks, I will have a review of Black Orchestra within, at most, the next 2 weeks. So on tomorrow's show, kind of give you an idea what's coming up the rest of the week, as well as early next week. Thursdays, love talking about RPGs, so I am going to be taking a first look at Overlight from Renegade Game Studios. This is their first foray into role-playing games. It's a nice, thick book. We're going to page through it and get our first look at it. Seems interesting. When I talked to Danny, when I interviewed Danny over at Renegade Game Studios, this sounds pretty cool. So that's going to be tomorrow. On Friday, I was going to review Tiny Epic Galaxies. I had a few people email me saying, hey, you mentioned you've got Tiny Epic Zombies. Is it possible that we could see that, like, before you do the review for Tiny Epic Galaxies? Because Tiny Epic Galaxies has been out for a little bit. For a bit. I shouldn't say a little bit. It's been out. So I thought, okay, fine. On Friday, I will unbox and take a first look at Tiny Epic Zombies. This is the deluxe edition. Thus the sticker right there in the corner. So I will take a look at that. On Monday, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Everdell. Now this one I do know for a fact is from Starling Games. This is the collector's edition as well. I love the artwork on this. I really, really love the artwork, and I'm hearing good things about Everdell too. So we're going to get a much closer look at that on Monday's show. And then on Tuesday, I will review Tiny Epic Galaxies from Gameland Games. I'll give you a hint. I really like it. In fact, I like it so much. When we were at Origins, Elliot got a copy, a review copy from Michael Coe at Gameland, and we played it once. And I have to play a game 3 times at least before I do a review. So we played it once. I really liked it, but then even though Elliot's my best friend and we don't live that far apart, we live maybe, I don't know, 20 miles apart, I don't get to see Elliot all that often. I might get to see him like once a month. I get to talk to him quite a bit. So I mentioned to Michael, I said, hey, I really liked it. Is it possible to get a review copy of Tiny Epic Galaxies? And he's like, yeah, sure. And sure enough, I got one. So played the heck out of it already. I played it at Gen Con, played it Sunday night after I got home from Gen Con. So that just gives you an idea of how much I like it. So I will do kind of a how to play as well as a review of that on Tuesday. All right, so that's it for today's show. So when you're not watching any of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow. As I mentioned, I will be taking a look at the Overlight role-playing game. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday or happy hump day. And I will be back. And as always, thank you for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.